Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti, and tonight we are making our WWE TLC 2018 predictions. There's 12 matches on this card, but before we get to them, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications as we're trying to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers before the Royal Rumble. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast provider, make sure you subscribe and review so that more people can find us and listen to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Now let's get on to it. It's the last pay-per-view of 2018 for WWE, and the card is pretty stacked in my opinion here. We'll start with the match that we sort of don't know at the time of this recording. We're recording this right after Smackdown, so we don't know who are exactly representing Raw and Smackdown in the Mixed Match Challenge, but the winner of that match will be number 30 in their respective Royal Rumbles. So on SmackDown, we have R-Truth and Carmella, who are facing The Miz and Asuka in their match. And on Raw, it's Bayley and Apollo Crews going up against Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox. I think it is safe to say that the match will be Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox versus Carmella and R-Truth, simply because they're the only ones that have absolutely nothing happening at TLC if this match doesn't happen. So honestly, I couldn't care less who wins this match. They're not winning the Royal Rumble. So if I had to pick, we're going to go with R-Truth and Carmella, just because one of them is going to end up doing a dance break. Maybe even both will end up doing dance breaks in their Royal Rumbles. So it will be a nice little moment as people just love the dance break right now. But let's move on and let's talk about the two matches that could potentially be canceled or changed due to injury. The first one, which we've kind of known for a while now, is Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin in a TLC match. Now, if Braun Strowman wins, he will get a Universal Championship match with Brock Lesnar at Royal Rumble. But if Baron Corbin wins, he becomes the permanent general manager of Monday Night Raw. Now, Braun Strowman is injured with an elbow injury. He had elbow surgery. It is a legit injury, and it's still questionable as whether or not he will be a part of TLC. And if he's not, a lot of things could happen. Do we see a forfeit where Baron Corbin becomes permanent general manager in that way? Do we see a replacement for Braun Strowman? And if so, who's it going to be? A lot of people are saying it could be a returning Bray Wyatt. Now, we talked about a potential Wyatt family reunion, and you can watch that video in the description below. We have the link for that. It could happen. I highly doubt that Bray Wyatt will be a replacement in this match. But again, you never know. The other thing that could happen is they protect Braun by having him show up and squash Baron Corbin, kind of like how he did at SummerSlam. He doesn't have to be in the ring that long, gets his win, and can heal up for the Royal Rumble against Brock Lesnar. Or they do actually go through and let Baron Corbin win by forfeit, making him a permanent general manager, which could be very interesting, especially because of this new storyline with Heath Slater all of a sudden. Yeah, that's right. Heath Slater all of a sudden has become a kind of a big role on Monday Night Raw since he won his job and got to keep his job on Raw, beating Rhino, who is now fired and basically retired from professional wrestling because of it. So does Heath Slater become a referee in this match? Does he get involved in this match? Do we even have this match? Personally, if I had to make the prediction, I'm going to say that we do have the match. And Braun Strowman will win and will move on to Royal Rumble and face Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. Baron Corbin will not be the general manager anymore on Monday Night Raw. Who will be his replacement? Time will tell. We could see Kurt Angle take the role back. People are saying that it could be Matt Hardy. It could be Alexa Bliss. Personally, I would love to see Alexa Bliss take the role. I think she, with the exception of the Q&A sessions, has done somewhat of a nice job on Raw with the women's division, even though it's been a limited time. And I think there's still something there, and she could be a great role in the GM. She is cleared to wrestle again, so maybe they don't pull that trigger and they go with Matt Hardy. Who knows? Time will tell. Now, the other match that could potentially be canceled is Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. Now, last week's Raw, we saw Drew McIntyre finish off Finn Balor in a backstage brawl, beating him up with weapons and leaving Finn Balor lying on the ground. Now, during their international tour into South America, Finn Balor was actually sent back home for undisclosed reasons, which rumors are speculating that it is actually an illness, not an injury. But in kayfabe, they're actually playing along with this by having Finn Balor not compete in the Mixed Match Challenge, which I already talked about, that he is replaced by Apollo Crews in that match that is happening right now as I'm recording this episode. So, could we not see Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre? And if that doesn't happen, do we see a replacement for Balor? In this case, I do think this match does occur, and I do think they want to book Drew McIntyre very, very strongly here. So I don't see Finn Balor winning, but to get the crowd riled up, I do think the Demon is coming out for this match in a losing effort. And that would be kind of interesting because it would be the first time the Demon loses a match in either NXT or WWE. But you gotta book Drew McIntyre strong here. And especially if they're saying that he's going to get a big push in 2019, this could be the start to that big push. So the win goes to Drew McIntyre. The next match that we have is just announced tonight on SmackDown Live. It is Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton in a chairs match. Now, personally, I think chair matches are completely stupid and really don't do anything. It's just really a hardcore match where you're allowed to use chairs. The storyline fits, and they did a creative way of getting this to be a chairs match, even though it is a themed pay-per-view. So Randy Orton has attacked Rey Mysterio numerous times with a chair, hitting him in the throat multiple times, thus leading to this being a chair match. And on the go-home show of SmackDown, Rey Mysterio attacked Randy Orton with a chair, and he stood tall as Randy Orton backed away from the ring and went backstage. Now, this is another one. This could really go either way. They do want to have Rey Mysterio look good, especially that he just returned to WWE after such a long hiatus. But Randy Orton's character right now is that guy that is just beating up the guys that everybody loves, starting with Jeff Hardy, now moving over to Rey Mysterio. So I do see this going to Randy Orton here and just fueling that heel that we really like right now from Randy Orton, and the way that he is acting is strong. I don't see them derailing it right now with a Rey Mysterio win. Mysterio doesn't necessarily need the win either, so I'm going with Randy Orton to win this. Our next match is a rematch of Super Showdown. It's Buddy Murphy versus Cedric Alexander for the Cruiserweight Championship. Now, I'll admit, I don't watch 205 Live a lot, and from what I've watched, obviously the Buddy Murphy versus Cedric Alexander match could have been, if not was, the best match at Super Showdown. And Buddy Murphy winning the title from Alexander that night in Melbourne, England, or Melbourne, Australia, just goes to show you that this match could be a great match. That match was unbelievable, and this could be a show-stealing performance just like that one was at Super Showdown. Do I think Buddy Murphy's dropping it back to Cedric Alexander in this match? No, I think Buddy Murphy retains, and honestly, I don't see anybody in the Cruiserweight division right now to take that title away from him. So keep the belt on him as long as you can. Make him look like a really good champion, something that the belt really hasn't had since Neville had it before he walked away from WWE. Our next match is a tables match. Natalya versus Ruby Riott. And I got to admit, I wasn't really interested in this match whatsoever until the go home to Raw, where Natalya comes out with a very heartfelt promo, bringing up her Hart family after saying that Ruby Riott thinks that she gets handed opportunities. But again, Natalya bringing up some very crucial points, bringing up the Montreal Screwjob and how her Uncle Brett punched Vince McMahon in the face that night and really blackballed the Hart family for years and years after that. And yes, Owen was there until his tragic death in 1999, but really, until Brett came back in the mid-2000s on that night with Shawn Michaels, it was very ugly for the Hart family. And Natalya, being someone that was trying to get into the business at that time, it was hard for her. And I thought this was a great way to help make this a match that people could care about. And Ruby Riott coming out with the table with Jim the Anvil Neidhart on the table. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I loved it. I loved this so much. I thought it was great, the fact that they're using real life situations to build a storyline. And some people are saying it's insensitive. You know, have you lost a parent? I understand the situation on why you may not like it, but in the end of the day, I'm sure they went to Natalya backstage before this segment and said, "Are you okay with this?" And she said, yeah, she's okay with it. So they ran with it, and it was one of the better segments of the night. And I'm interested in this match and see how it goes through. Who do I think wins? I do think they will give Natalya the win, although I would love to see Ruby Riott get a win for once on a pay-per-view. I just don't see it here. The way, I mean, if Natalya is going to be wrestling for Jim the Anvil Neidhart, this is really, you can't let her lose this one. So the win goes to Natalya. Our next championship match is the triple threat match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. That's the Bar versus the Usos versus the New Day. Now, these are probably the only three teams of relevance in either tag team divisions, and here they are in one match, and it's going to be a great match. And for the Usos and the New Day, it's going to be nice for them to be on a main card of a pay-per-view, as they are notorious for being on the pre-shows of whatever card that they're on. They're finally going to make it on the main card for this excellent match with the Bar. Now, the go-home angle with the rap battle, the Usos were awesome in their rap, but the New Day, very cringeworthy with the Ice Shamey. And I know a lot of people on Twitter were loving that Ice Shamey thing, but not a big fan. And the Bar have really looked really weak in the last month, eating pins, that rap battle, and they just haven't looked strong here. And I do think they are going to drop the titles, but to who? I think it's time to give it to the Usos. They really deserve it. They've been looking really strong the last couple of months, and you know, it's time for them to have the title run for a while. And you know what? Either one of these teams are deserving of the tag team championships, but the way the Usos have been looking right now, you got to give it to them. Our next match is an interesting one. It's Bobby Lashley versus Elias in a ladder match, but no belt is going to be up in the sky for them to climb for. It's not a contract. It's a guitar. Now, for the last couple of weeks, they've been sharing attacks on each other with Elias's guitar. 2 weeks ago, we saw Elias attack Lio Rush with the guitar. And then on this past episode of Raw, we saw Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush retaliate with the guitar. And they're doing something that you would think Vince Russo is booking this stuff. And that is having the guitar suspended above the ladders. The first person to grab the guitar can use it. The last time they did something like this was the kendo stick on a pole match with Alexa Bliss and Bayley. And that did not go over so well. I don't know if this match is going to be that great personally, but if I had to pick a winner for this, I'm going to go with Elias, especially the way that he looked getting beat up on the go home episode of Raw. Bobby Lashley looking really strong. Usually when they book someone that strong, chances are they're going to be losing at the pay-per-view. So Elias, after his face turn recently, I do think they will give him the victory. Keeping it with Raw, we have the Raw Women's Championship, Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax. Oh man, there was so much potential for this heel run for Nia Jax, but her promo work is god awful and nobody cares about her. She could bring up her fist, the face breaker hashtag, how she busted the man Becky Lynch's face. Nobody cares anymore, and she has just sucked up the life of that. And, you know, Ronda Rousey's promos aren't that much better, and this match really could have been much more than what it's really going to be, and it's going to be a mid-card match somewhere in the middle of the pay-per-view, maybe even before 10 o'clock. This is going to be, I mean, I don't see this really going more than 10 minutes, and if it does, it's going to be a long 15 or 20 minutes if it goes that long. But let's give credit where credit's due. When Ronda Rousey needs to step up, she has had some good matches. Her match at WrestleMania has been good. Her Evolution match with Nikki Bella exceeded expectations. Her match with Charlotte at Survivor Series could have been the match of the night if it wasn't for Brock and Daniel Bryan. So she definitely can carry the load, and this might actually end up being a decent match, you know, but I'm not really setting my expectations high for it. So who wins? It depends. Honestly, it depends on what's going to happen at the end of the night with Becky, Charlotte, and Asuka. Who wins that match? And yes, I did my fantasy booking based on who wins that match, and Ronda Rousey's involved in all those storylines. All those bookings, by the way, the links are in the description, so if you want to click on those, or I'll have the thumbnails at the end of this video. So either way, check it out. But it would be kind of odd to have Ronda Rousey lose her first match at TLC. I think they want to save that first loss for a bigger moment or a bigger pay-per-view, maybe Royal Rumble, maybe WrestleMania, or maybe they even hold it off till SummerSlam or next year's Survivor Series. But I don't see this happening at TLC, so I will say that Ronda Rousey retains the Raw Women's Championship. Our next title match, going to stay with Raw here, as it's Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. Now, it was looking very grim for Dean Ambrose's heel turn with this whole germophobic heel, but the last couple of weeks he has turned things around and has cut some really good promos, and we're starting to see why he turned heel. More about integrity and ego of Seth Rollins really set him off and forced him to turn heel and face Seth Rollins at TLC for the Intercontinental Championship. And now we have Seth Rollins, who is now the voice of the WWE Universe, who comes out to open Monday Night Raw and just airs all the grievances that we have been saying here on the Squared Circle Psychobabble, what you've been hearing on all other wrestling podcasts, seeing it on wrestling Twitter, on Facebook, Reddit, that the show stinks. Things just don't make sense. You have the Lucha House Party and Lucha House Party Rules, whatever those are, beating the Revival, who should be in the tag team title picture. You got Drake Maverick peeing on robes. And Seth Rollins finally voiced that opinion and looked really good on the go-home show to Raw. Had a great TLC match with Baron Corbin, and Heath Slater got involved with that. I'd be interested to see if Baron Corbin, depending on where this ends up on the card, if Baron Corbin ends up after this match, do we see Baron Corbin get involved in this match? And if so, how? Who wins this match? Honestly, I think what we saw on Raw is planting the seed for a Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar match, either at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. Now, I said that Braun Strowman was going to win earlier in the night, so I do see Seth Rollins dropping the title here, maybe going into the Royal Rumble and winning to set him up against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So Dean Ambrose will be your new Intercontinental Champion. And now our WWE Championship match, Daniel Bryan, the new Daniel Bryan, squaring off against AJ Styles, a rematch of their title match that we had just a couple weeks ago on SmackDown on the go home to Survivor Series. That was a great match. This should reciprocate. They've had 2 great matches so far, and this probably going to be the payoff of the feud, the last time that we'll see them, at least in the current, that we'll see Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. Maybe we see it if AJ Styles renews his contract down the line in 2019. Daniel Bryan's heel turn has been really good. Everybody is booing him. He's getting some really good heat, and his character doesn't seem forced. And that's what I like about it. And his match with Mustafa Ali on the go home to SmackDown was really good. That was awesome. So I do see him retaining, and it's just sad that this really would have been the main event at TLC if it wasn't for what is going to be the main event of TLC. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair versus Asuka in a TLC match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Like I said, I did my fantasy booking based on the outcome of this match, and those links are in the description, and we'll have the thumbnail at the end of this video. You could really do a lot, regardless of who wins this match. If Becky wins, if Charlotte wins, if Asuka wins, you could do anything to set up WrestleMania. You could set up Charlotte versus Asuka in a rematch there for the SmackDown Women's Championship. You could set up a triple threat match with Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Ronda Rousey with both titles on the line, and Becky Lynch wins and becomes like the ultimate women's champion. You can have Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey just do title for title, or title versus title. You could do so much. I'm excited for this match, and the go home angle was awesome. Asuka versus Charlotte, ending in a disqualification when Charlotte brings out the kendo stick, and then Becky Lynch gets involved, and she's whacking people with the kendo stick, and then Asuka stands tall, beating up both of them with a kendo stick. The crowd was eating up this entire segment. They loved it. Absolutely loved it. I loved it too. And I did like that Asuka stood tall, and the crowd was really enjoying Asuka. They have loved Asuka ever since that night before Survivor Series where Becky had to pick who her replacement was going to be. The crowd wanted Asuka. They got Charlotte Flair instead. And from what we're seeing in the reports, that's what Vince McMahon saw. And that's why Asuka's in this position. And honestly, I just don't see them putting her in a match just for her to lose. Either one can win, and the fans win. That's the beauty of this. The fans love Becky. The fans love Charlotte. The fans love Asuka. No matter who wins, the fans win in the end. But I do have to make a prediction. And my prediction will be that Asuka wins the TLC match and becomes the new SmackDown Women's Champion. The new SmackDown Women's Champion. So, what does this mean for Becky Lynch and Charlotte? Obviously, I think they both go into the Royal Rumble. One of them wins and sets up a match with either Asuka or Ronda Rousey. I mean, the road to WrestleMania has officially begun, and it didn't even have to come at the Royal Rumble. We're getting it a little early at TLC. So in review, I think R-Truth and Carmella win the Mixed Match Challenge. I think Braun Strowman wins over Baron Corbin. Drew McIntyre wins over Finn Balor. I see Randy Orton winning over Rey Mysterio. I see Buddy Murphy retaining over Cedric Alexander. Natalya puts Ruby Riott through a table. The Usos beat the New Day and the Bar at the triple threat match for the Tag Team Championships of SmackDown. I see Elias beating Bobby Lashley. Ronda Rousey retains the Raw Women's Championship. Dean Ambrose is your new Intercontinental Champion. Daniel Bryan retains for the WWE Championship. and Asuka is your new SmackDown Women's Champion. Let us know in the comments what you think. Who is going to win these matches at TLC? And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications as we're trying to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers before the Royal Rumble. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast provider, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you review so that more people can find us and listen to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Thank you for listening. My name is Michael Valenti, and you have listened to the Squared Circle Psychobabble.